All right, man, we're ready to go.
I'm here at long last. I'm a huge fan of the show, so thanks for having me on. I think I've seen every episode. So
I appreciate it, man. But yeah. One of my longest friends, Chris Pickard's here with me today on the Bag of Six. We're going to go, I think, like in the quote unquote showbiz, they always say like one for them, one for us kind of deal. Like we'll make your movie, but then I'm going to make my pet project. And I haven't done anything champagne centric, even though this is technically under the umbrella of Paign Productions. That's what it comes from. So we were texting back and forth, and we decided to go with top six, like townie hangout gems type places. That's the long title.
from days of yore, but some still current.
Yeah, some have closed, some are still going. If you've lived here a long time, you've probably heard of most of them, but there might be a couple surprises in there, man. So we'll see what it comes.
I thought this was a good topic for us because I'm just kind of assuming that most of your audience is like above the age of 35 and somewhat familiar with Champagne Urbana in some way, shape, or form. I could be wrong, but and also, it's more than just like the hangout spots. We're talking Champagne geography. We're talking about a lot of stories and in history around some of this stuff from our youth. So yeah, I'm psyched. However this goes, just set it off. I'm ready.
There will be anecdotes, no doubt.
I'm to trade
As
off as many obscure references between now and as I possibly can. So that's my
I
goal.
think you nailed my target demo though, man. So way to drop that on her. Yeah, it's pretty much all my Facebook friends.
You got to know who your audience is.
All right, bud. As always, I like my guests to kick it off. So hit me with your number six pick of your list.
My number six pick of the list is the Phoenix. I think the Phoenix. I think Phoenix is gone now. But the Phoenix was like played an important role, I would say, in like my early to mid 20s, just kind of like bopping around downtown, mostly on foot. And it was a great place to like play pool. They had a pretty killer like jukebox that was just like all like classic rock. It was just like an old school down and dirty place. And then sometimes they would have like a live band. It's like, whoa, where'd you guys get this? And yeah, I like the Phoenix. That was like they were friendly there. It looked a little sketchy from the outside, but once you're family at the Phoenix, you're family. So I was never scared of the Phoenix. I love those people. Shout out to the Phoenix.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And those that might not remember, it was basically across the street from the Tumble Inn. So like it was a place you went, and like you said, once you were family there, like a lot of mine on my list will have like the places where bartenders recognize you and even get to know your drink and etc. And you'd run into like I ran into like someone I haven't seen since I worked in Ants in Their Pants, like in high school. Like, oh shit, you still live here? Like, oh yeah, man, I hang out at the Phoenix, man. So it was like one of those random joints, and I always would do the back and forth because tumble in. It didn't make my list because I think that's a very well known CU place. If it made yours, I will talk about it for hours. But um, the two vibes, like it was like kind of going back and forth. And Tumblin never had Red Bull. So it was like, man, let's just run over to the Phoenix. Let's do some Jaeger bombs. Let's hang out there for a little while. And then it just kind of melted into the evening, dude. I love that joint, man.
I forgot about that. That was like a thing. That was a reason to like cut across Neal Street and like, then just post up at the Phoenix. That's dope. Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, and like their sign was like hand painted. That's what I always liked about it.
Yeah.
There
It
were
had
no
like
lights.
like an old school, like kind of like a skinny Firebird. Like
Yeah,
how like in the original Dungeons and Dragons, like monster manuals, this it was a little
exactly.
sketchier. Like it was that kind of artwork. I love great. What's not to love?
Classic, dude. I love it. I love it. I love the Phoenix. All right, I'm gonna go more obscure as the list goes on, but I can't kick off this whole thing without giving homage to my favorite bar in town, like the bar that I've been to more than any other bar, the bar that is everything to me and is going to be gone here shortly. Remodeled and redone, reimagined, and it hurts. But the Office 2, aka the Deuce, is basically where I spent so much time on West Bradley at the radio stations that like I'd hang out at the night show and then we'd run there and try to get a few in right before closing time. Irish nachos were my shit, dude. Like they had the waffle fries with the cheese and the sour cream and the onions and the tomatoes. It worked at any time, day or night.
Yep.
And then it molded like throughout the years. Like I've seen snowball fights in there. Our friend Adam Fisher and me got into a slap contest that rang throughout the bar. And then recently in between jobs, it was kind of where I posted up as like, ironically, my office. And there could be anything from like Lil Wayne B-sides at like 11 a.m. to country music, or they might just throw the Kevin James joint, Here Comes the Boom, on one of the TVs and shut all the music down because this is what's happening right now. You never knew what to expect there, man. And I love West Side Champagne bars. So yeah, the Deuce is always going to have a special place in my heart, and I'm sorry to see it go.
I feel you 100% the Deuce. The Office One in Urbana was never really like my steez. I always felt like, you know, shout out to Urbana, all homies from Urbana, but like sometimes you would get like Urbana flexed over there because you know, they just didn't really know you. And like, there's other students from, you know, back in like House Party Zone, Urbana. And that's just like, that's not as like real Paign Townies. That wasn't really our stomping ground. But I remember like you have a lot more like Office 2 Pia's type experience. And I remember the first time like meeting you at the Office 2, I think it was like a March Madness kind of a Thursday or a Friday afternoon.
I remember.
And yeah, like cooking up the nachos, and then we just kind of got like, you know, more people showed up, and like that was a great Office 2 memory. That whole zone, I'll sort of dovetail on that one because I remember that OTB that might still be back there. So you're a radio guy. you've got this radio. You know, that was your spot. And when I was like at some point in college over the summer, I did like a camera operator gig at WICD, which is right back there too.
Oh yeah.
And shout out to Keith Page. He probably has like predicted his last snowstorm long ago. RIP Keith Page. I cannot imagine that guy's alive. But back in the day, between the 6 and 10, we would go over OTB, and he would just like tie one on. You know, like he had his whole routine down, and that was like funny to like hang out with him. And so that's another. I'm gonna kind of attach the OTB to the Office too.
I love it. Did he show you like that dude always did magic tricks, dude? That's what I always remember about Keith Page.
Yeah. I mean, he was a really nice guy, but there's no question he would go get, you know, something straight with some ice in it and just like basically sit there for, you know, about 3 hours until it was time to go back on camera.
In between,
so for all those playing at home, anybody who's watching like the 10 o'clock news back in the day, just so you know, Keith Page was just like, he was loose. Like he was feeling good for the 10 o'clock.
Hell yeah, man. He could do that in his sleep, dude. Like in between the 6 and 10 with Keith time, dude. And then afterwards, it's like, man, I can dance all day, dude. Like, let me just tell you, I had someone make these graphics for me. I know what they said.
That's a good gig, dude. Weatherman. Where did I go wrong? I mean, you got to have the face for Weatherman.
That was my major, dude. Like I actually was on TV 10 at ISU as the Weatherman. And
see, I don't even know if I remember that. I got to come on Bag of Six to learn these important facts about your life.
Yes, all the people are clamoring for obscure facts about me. But yeah, dude, I did it, and it was weird. And then you start making your resume tape, and they start talking about like, you should probably change your hair. You should probably look into tanning or like things of that nature.
There. Yeah, I don't even blame you, Doug.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I'm gonna go radio where I can just be a gremlin and just cruise. I don't need a persona. I don't need to be out in the community being like, So yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I'm more comfortable in the gremlin zone. There's no question.
Yeah, I don't want people in 2040 being like Ryan Leskis, man. I saw that dude house Jaeger bombs at Phoenix in between the 6 and 10 for WCIA. So yeah, that's why I didn't go. All right, man. Give me your next pick then, number 5.
So is it my pick? I'm gonna go with Tommygs. Tommygs was a random spot. Again, this was kind of like, I'm gonna put this with the Phoenix because Tommygs is like Phoenix West. It was basically the same thing. A lot of pool tables, a little bit of darts, every once in a while live music. It was just kind of one of those down and dirty, easy where adults could go to be adults. It was kind of rock and rolly and country music-y. If you were below the age of it's just 28 years old, I mean, you're definitely going to get like, there's going to be some like older lady with probably like some ink on like a left or right boob, like a little rose or something, that was gonna like buy you a drink. So I thought that was cool. And then just like if you went outside to like smoke or something, and then you have all those great old memories of like Aladdin's Castle and Monica's Pizza and like that whole strip mall. There was like, if you start at the top of that sidewalk where the grocery store used to be, and then it kind of like goes down and then it goes down again. Like when we were kids, that was a good spot. We would set up like turn a bike rack on its side, or someone would bring out like a little jump ramp, and we would just do lines down that strip. Now, my kids are all, every time we're in Champaign, they want to make this last stop before we hit the road at that little dollar store that's there, that Dollar Tree.
Okay.
And it's like, what's right? You're choosing little plastic water guns and stuffed animal tchotchkes. Like I was ripping out here when but that's these kids today, man. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely going. I was feeling Tommygs. I was always down to go to G Spot.
Yeah, man, totally. And that was like the Country Fair Mall, right in like the elbow. So yes. It was a huge space, man. Because like you said, they had the bar and a stage, and then they had like a whole nother room behind it. There was like 8 to 10 pool tables. It was like separate but still connected, so there was like different vibes to bounce back and forth. Like you could be almost in a different bar. Like you'd walk into the pool room and be like, oh, shit's happening back here, man. I've been up front for half the time. But yeah, man.
Yeah, it had different looks for sure.
Country Fair, dude. Yeah, you're right, dude. That was like the kid's dream because there was a theater there. You had the batter's cage, which was a
cards. Right, I forgot about that.
It was like basically the equivalent of the Simpsons comic book guy. They would just sit there and be like, come on, man, you can give me more than $3. Nope, that's the value of it. You can take it or leave it. And it's like, dude, man, I'm trying to get a Ken Griffey, man. Like, can you give me $5 for this card? I see it in the manual. It's worth so much more. That's how I'm going to pay you. And then you had to haggle, man. So you had the theater, the arcade, the pizza joint, the card shop, Osco. Like everything was there for a kid, man. Once you could park your bike and you were there for the day.
Yeah, there was something magical about that whole zone. And then now you just paid it. So you go at the batter's cage competition, and I cannot remember the name of it. You would that little hole in the wall across from Deuce on Mattis. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
That like burgle cut type guy that would just like, do trades with you, and he would just sit back there. The guy could barely breathe. His neck was so big, and his fingers were like little sausages, and you get like he's got his little fingers with like little gold rings on them, like on top of the glass, and like you're just a kid. You're like under duress trying to figure out if you want to part with something. and it's just like the fat man does not blink.
No, man, I got into
Oh
him
my
with it.
God, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah, it was.
Crazy.
I believe it was called Triple Play, and yeah, I got into it with him because I tried buying some packs of 1986 tops because I wanted a Jose Canseco rookie card. And so it was like, yo, man, you can buy these packs and take a shot, or you can buy it for like $80. And it's like, well, I'm gonna try my luck. And I could tell the dude already opened the pack and glued it back together. Cause when I opened it, it wasn't the same. And I'm like, yo, man, this one's been tampered with. And he's like, nope, sales final. I'm like, there's not even any gum in here, man. There used to be gum. The dude probably ate all the gum and
Where do you think that gum went, homie?
glued him back up. Is hornswoggled me out of like $4, man. So yeah.
Oh my God. I think now that I'm starting to think about this more, I think a mom at some point, I want to say it was Ryan P. Joe Canada. Shout out to Ryan P., by the way. He should be doing this Ultimate Townie Bar episode rather than me, but maybe we could have like a reprise, include Ryan P. But I think that Janice P. went down there one time and was like, you ripped my kid off or something like that. It was like drama. But anyway, it's crazy. Forgot about that guy.
Sounds right. All right. Okay, moving along. I'm gonna just go back up the street, man, because this was my zone. I'm going early 20s here. So Office 2, I went there a lot, but also on that end of town on Bradley was my first dance club love, and I'm going with Bradley's, man. RIP Bradley's. It was weird because I had to do things there because
Bradley's for me.
they tried to make it a country bar, so like I did work there. I worked at the country station and watched line dances and stuff, but a couple times a week, most notably Wednesday, they would do like dollar domestics and wells, and the line would be down the block, and it was everybody from 50 to like halfway to Decatur was trying to pack in that joint, and it was lit, dude. Like it was so much fun. And it was like my first like, oh man, the floor is packed, everybody's going crazy. It was like my like back home, because like High Dive wasn't really popping yet, and a couple other places that might come up. This was like the one time a week where it was like you open the door and you saw the steam come out because everybody's just like hot and like and I don't have the tape anymore, but it's also, I remember you getting into the squared circle there, my friend, where you dropped your amateur boxing debut, because all of a sudden out of nowhere they were just like, we're just going to start doing amateur boxing and we're going to have people weigh in, and it's not sanctioned and nobody's really keeping tabs on this, but we're going to feed Chris a bunch of tequila and he's hopping in, dude. And it was wild, dude. We were up on the second floor, like looking down at you, like scrap with some like ex-Marine who was like doing this for like a job. And we just watched too many Jackass episodes and thought we were trying to be funny, dude. And it got real.
Hindsight being what it is, I probably wouldn't have done it the same way. But when in doubt, if you're in the third of 3 rounds and you're still in this thing and you think that like you might lose, as like, because it was kind of like a crowd deal, like the ref would just sort of like be like, who won? And it'd be like, oh yeah. And it's like no one's gonna think that I won, or no o's gonna do that. So I just kind of try to like push the guy out of the ring, right? So it's like, oh, okay, this is over. It's like, that was great. Yeah. Bradley's kind of freaked me out in a lot of ways. Like that was one thing that was probably not my best decision, but it was fun. I remember that outdoor area. I remember there was that little alcove of like very dark where they had like tables, and it was like you could get away with a lot of shit out there. Yeah, 100%. I think I did walk into like a line dancing night there one time, and just kind of like, nah, I'm over it. But they didn't want me there anyway, so
it definitely changed the vibe. But yeah, dude, they had like that sunken in like garden where it was like,
yeah,
it was like a whole different vibe out there. But yeah, I was like waiting forever to get into Bradley's did not seem like a bad idea, man. It was a wonderful idea, and I miss that, dude. It was fun.
Yeah, I remember that. We did a lot of tequila. Shout out to tequila, by the way. It'll make you do crazy things. I got to show you some. So we were at one of our go-to Sunday rotation, family lunch spots, Los Magotes de Michoacan. Shout out to the Magotes family from Michoacan, Mexico. But Cynthia brought us out like some of this it's kind of like a horchata type thing,
Okay.
but it's a traditional Mexican holiday like nog. It's basically like cinnamon leche. And then she was like, you take this home, you put a little bit of tequila in there. So I got something, we always have a lot of tequila around. My wife likes tequila. So I got a little, whatever this is.
That label looks menacing, dude. I love it.
Chamucos. And then I've got old trusty Migo.
Classic.
And then, after I have one of these, we've always got plenty of these, the old standby. So that's what I'm sipping on.
Nice.
But yeah, shout out to tequila in general. Is it my turn? I think it is.
You're up number 4.
I'm up number 4. I'm going to go with the Hideaway. And I know I don't want to steal your shine on this one because I know you probably have some good Hideaway stories. My Hideaway, I remember trying to go there a couple times and then just sort of being like, yeah, this is for adults. Like, we understand that you're technically 21, but it's just not this kind of a jam. It was more like high school, just Mattis Lake in general. Like, we just do so much stupid shit out there. And I just can't believe that we would just be allowed to do that for like hours on end in the 90s, like trying to drive someone's stick shift car and just stalling it like over and over and over again and just be like, what are you doing? Like, what are these kids doing out here? But yeah, the Hideaway, I think you could probably speak more to that, but that was just a random bar in a residential area hidden away. And it always seemed like really clandestine and like out of reach for me. And again, I think times I try to go there, it was just like, nah, I don't think so. Like, this is not your speed. So
no, it was totally random, dude. There should not have been a bar there. Like, it was like tucked back in. It wasn't even like prominent. Like, there should be a sign there that's like, hey, there's a place to eat and drink here. No, I mean, the name was apt to, like, it was tucked back in like an armpit off of Devonshire, and like it made no sense. And I did have quite a few adventures there where they tried to also switch it to like a dance scene night. I remember those. I also remember, I think I had one of my brother's like surprise birthday parties was there, which we went to see a movie, Double Jeopardy, featuring one Ashley Judd, to keep him out, and took him to the Hideaway after. How's that for a double bill? And but
that sounds like a dream date night. I mean,
right?
Like, you're not going to beat that. I mean, happy birthday, Matt. You're welcome.
But what sticks out the most, again, going back, a lot of these do have like radio ties to them, is we remember when speed dating was hot? Like, the concept of it featured in 40-Year-Old Virgin, like they get like 30 people all at tables, and then everybody would get like 2 minutes to chat, and then you'd go to different tables and make your way around.
Oh my God. I never did that. I've done some like speed networking type stuff in my professional life, but I would have been, there's no way I'd have survived speed dating.
We thought we'd hop all over that, like, oh, hot concept, man. It's huge in New York, man. It must be huge in Champaign. And trying to execute speed dating at the Hideaway in Champaign was real bleak, man. It was like, I think there was like 2 females, like 19 thirsty dudes. It was what you expected to be. So I was like on the phone back at the station, like, oh, this is not going well. The whole promotion didn't go well. We tried doing one at Cam's, and like a bunch of like old surly townies showed up. So it was like all these like college kids, and then like 8 to 10 guys like in their 40s from like the outskirts coming in like, hey, let's speed date. It was
That's terrifying. I mean, just that's crazy. That's a good 90s weird trend reference though. And you had a lot of those TV shows back then too, like a lot of like modern sort of takes on, the original like dating games or Chuck Woolery or whatever, Love Connection, but you had like the new
Studs.
reality, like following them around with a camera, like while they're on the date. Yeah, that's real 90s stuff, man.
Yeah.
Or 90s.
I watch Studs regularly, dude.
That's right. It's one. Pickup Artist, Mystery. I remember that dude. Shout out to Mystery, man. Where's he at?
Wherever he needs to be.
I had it right.
Wherever he needs to be, dude. Big hat. All right. Okay. So yeah, I've kept it West Side long enough. Savoy is a very underrepresented bar scene. Like there's not much down there. You got like an Applebee's or like there's just not much in Savoy, dude. But like once I uncovered the Senators Inn down in the hotel, the Shirts Inn, they had like this little tucked away bar in there that was just like a good way to get away, man. Again, it was like my day drinking spot because like Best Western had that hotel pool that you could pay like $3 to go swim at, even if you weren't a guest there. So we'd run over to Senators, get a couple day drinks in us, and then go dip and then run back in, and nobody gave a shit. But like it, and when Pat Morita was in town, he was staying there he was traveling across the country doing like a documentary before his passing, and he hung out at Senators Inn, and when word got out, like people went in like aquarium style, like nobody wanted to bother him and be that guy, like, hey man, Mr. Miyagi style. But like he went in there and he'd belly up, and occasionally he'd drop like a bonsai and the whole house would go wild, dude. It was wonderful, man. So yeah, fond memories of the Senators Inn. Great little hole in the wall. I believe it's still going. So yeah, Senators.
Yeah. Dude, sounds like you had Senators hacked. I feel like the only times I was there were in the wintertime. And I didn't know about that pool at all, but that sounds awesome. That should have been your speed dating spot. You got the hotel there and it would go well. I don't know. Like, kind of date's gonna be, but that's cool. I remember one fond memory of Senators is I remember you mentioned Adam at the beginning of this episode, who also could probably do a much better job of this than I could, but he was like, I felt like that was like a spot for Adam for a while, where he would like kind of hold court. He felt very comfortable. So I remember the first time going there, I was with Adam. We had a great time. Sometime like around the holidays, it definitely had no concept of a pool. It was like a Christmas time kind of a vibe at Senator. But yeah, great. Just moving it south. I don't know. I mean, me and Scott Pickard, we blast up and down Neal Street to the Orange and Blue on the reg, when I'm down there.
Sure.
And I never really noticed. My dad said that for sure, the bowling alley,
Old Orchard.
People, Old Orchard, like people like are on deck for pizzas, like they're like constantly like, hey, see all those cars? Like we're coming back from Orange and Blue, about 4:00 on a Friday. I was like, oh, that's cool. They're doing good.
They're a piece of rips, dude. And they have a drive-through window. So yeah, man, people just run in and out, man. Yeah, that place is dope, dude. But yeah.
Well, that we should just like, put that on as a flyer to Senators, because that was our parents' spot back in the day. They're just like, here's some quarters, go away.
Right.
Like, let's get the pictures out. Let's get some more pictures out after that, after a long work week, and let the kids run around in a smoke-filled bowling alley and just go crazy. So the great childhood memories of Old Orchard as well.
Absolutely, dude. Man, I went there like because my mom used to bowl. So they had like a little daycare area like in the back.
I remember that daycare room. Yeah. I never wanted to be in there. I felt like I was like so I wanted to be loose. I would gravitate more towards like the pool and gaming area.
Exactly.
Or try to run around outside or something. I mean, who cares? Who's watching you? No one.
No one. I'm trying to break 260 and smoke some True Blue 100s, man. Leave me alone. Nah, it was a
Exactly.
blast. I used to love going to bowling out with my mom, dude. It was great. All right, man, you're up.
Kicking it back to me, I'm gonna go in another direction and head east towards Mordor, aka Urbana, and go with Les's Lounge.
Nice.
Les's Lounge was in a weird spot
Yeah.
situated adjacent to Carl Hospital and also right next to the train tracks.
Yeah.
Um, the guy the bartender there was awesome. I remember he was just such a nice guy. Like, I can't remember his name. You probably know his name. Like, he had like bald head, like shaved head, like young guy. And he was in the middle
Mhm.
of that like red pleather
Yes.
circular bar. Everybody would just like post up around that bar, and he would just be like, "Hey, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want?" He had
Yes.
like 360 degrees of like, just slanging drinks and getting tips, and he was super nice bartender, and just something about the lighting and then all that red leather like console.
Everywhere.
Depending on what kind of substances were flowing through my system, I would start to feel like I was one of those like gnarly old battle commanders from the last Starfighter. Like bad guys who wear those red leather suits, and he's got like that little like flip visor thing, like that little monocle. I don't know. I'd just be like, man, I feel like those guys right now. So I was just like, Leslie's Lounge like always made me feel great.
Yeah, dude. It had a little Star Wars Cantina vibe to it, a little
Yeah.
like Regal Beagle vibe to it. Like, yeah, the bar wasn't just pleather, but it was also like puffy. So even when you were like posted up to it, like it was comfy, man. Like it felt good. And
Yeah, there's some sci-fi stuff about all that red leather. It was badass.
and with it being so close to Carl, like if you went there happy hour style, it was just like loaded with nurses and stressed out doctors like power drinking for like a strong hour and a half, and then it would be like dust, and then it's like grad students and hipsters and stuff. But like you went there like right after shift change or whatever, man, that place just got lit with like scrubs and people just like telling war stories about whatever the hell kind of shit they just encountered across the street, in and out and gone, dude. It always got like real intense for like real fast, and then like it totally shifted tone. It was so crazy. I love that place, man.
All right, back to you.
All right, well, let's just
Where are we at, by the way, numbers wise?
you just did 4, so I'm doing 4. So yeah, I did 4, right? I did Hello. I did Office. I did
Not that we're keeping score. We're just riffing here, baby. We're just staying loose.
I did 3. You did 3. So I'm on my number 3, which I am gonna go with. Ooh. All right, I'm gonna switch it up. Similar to. You know what? I'm gonna go because the Todd Johns Bar was one of the items that I wanted to try to. Oh no, sorry, that's coming up later. Because I just read it. The Lessons Learned Bar was one of the things that I was trying to purchase. So, what I also wanted to purchase was a place we went where we all cut our teeth. We wanted to buy the pool table from there when they put it up for auction. Go with the deluxe, dude. When my name at the time was Todd Schmia, starting with a Z, that was my fake ID name. And I'd run in there and they totally knew, we were like 18, maybe if that. And the bartender would laugh and then just say, "Okay, Todd, what do you want?" And then it would be like, "I want a Stroh's gripper, please. $1 American," and slide it across the table like a transaction we were doing. And they'd be like, "All right, man, have fun." We'd always post up at the far back left corner table right by the jukebox, play some pool, drink, 3 or 4 beers each. We thought we were so cool because we were on campus, and it was like in the spot. We always talked about the fish sandwich. I never had one while it was open. It was just like the unspoken like speakeasy place where it's like, we get it. You guys aren't 21, but have your few beers and be on your way. And like, yeah,
That is exactly that is exactly the way that you order a beer when you're legally not allowed to, too. One Coors Light, please, sir.
Exactly.
I have my money ready for you in advance.
Here's the exact amount and a little something for you, sir.
Yeah, and it was like old school bottle too. You'd be like pop, like it was like a Coke.
Right, right.
God, this is shit.
And I always remembered because I did not know a damn thing about classic rock, and all you Centralians were like about it. So I always felt like lost on the jukebox because you guys would be knocking out whatever, and I didn't know the name of any songs. So I would just troll you guys by playing songs off of the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack because it was the only one that did not fit in that jukebox. But that way I could like make a joke of it instead of accidentally putting down like cut 7 off Zeppelin, which nobody likes because I didn't know any better. So I'd always just randomly be like, hey guys, staying alive, you know, and it would be like, this song sucks, dude, stop. But you know, that was my little piece.
They kept that on there strictly for profiling purposes.
Exactly.
But yeah, Deluxe was that was dope. And unlike you, I actually have. My dad used to like get those fish sandwiches on the reg. Like he would like, just roll up there, grab some, bring them home on like a Friday fish fry kind of a vibe. So yeah, sandwiches are good. Great call. Forgot about the Deluxe.
Yeah. All right. So I think you're at number 2.
Number 2, because I feel like my number 1, unless you have it too, is my most important one. So number 2, I'm going to go with like not important, but just beyond weird. So when Cochran's transitioned over to Orchid, did I steal your thunder? We can ride out on this one together because I think like for the nature of us being townies, when you go to campus bars, like the lines were always very clearly defined. Like if you went to Cams or COs or Clybourne, it's pretty obvious that it's like, okay, you're from Champaign, you're not, you're college, but it was all good. It was sort of, you blended together. And half the time in the early days, you had like, George Furla or, remember Atonde was like working at Cams and so you'd have some locals who are also like working there. So all good, right? Old school, like Centennial versus Central night at Cams and that kind of thing.
Right.
But the Orchid was a whole different ball game. So I'm too young to really say, I can't really speak on Cochran's like that. That's like, your brother could, right?
Yeah, I don't really know much of Cochran.
Like the Orchid was just always just a straight up fucking head scratcher for me because it was like the music, the dancing, the multiple levels of steps going up. Do I go up top? Do I just eventually just try and get out of the way from whatever's going on? There's a whole lot of weird dudes, college guys from the Chicago suburbs who just like, they're just like slanging drugs like left and right everywhere, like, frat guys. My wife still maintains to this day that she like made a very important spiritual connection with Billy Corgan and this amazing conversation that she had with him, which is just like, all right, well, you should have stuck with that, man. But there's just a whole lot of weird stuff going on at the Orchid. I do not dance, or if I do, or if I ever had, I shouldn't have been. Everybody knows that. And that was just a place where I'm getting high anxiety just even talking about it in the safety and comfort of my own home right now on a Sunday afternoon. So Orchid freaked me out completely. I don't think I have a whole lot of real specific stories, but it was just a place that was, I think for Champaign, really unique, very weird, and very not there anymore. I believe it's a Target now.
There is a Target up there, but it's like a block over. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like, when I talked about Bradley's, how like that was like my first kind of club experience. Like Orchid really modeled itself. Like I remember like getting the like slick glossy like flyers, like, oh, what's this? This place is, and it'd have like the
Right.
iridescent, like the logo of like the girl, the orchid, like the whole deal. Like it was like trying to put big city vibes in Champaign for like the first time ever before they started doing stuff really downtown and stuff. But it was like slick bills, slick flyers. They do like a Studio 54 night with like the actual moon with the Coke spoon, and everything would come down and everybody would freak out. And it was like the first time, and it was just like, yeah, it was like eye popping when you went in there, man. And it really hit the scene hard. It went fast and hard, dude. Just kind of like, I don't know when it ever stopped. I'm assuming drugs were involved, but it definitely it ran hot, like most good clubs, man. You can only fly too close to the sun, dude, before your wings melt. Like, and that was,
Yeah.
dude, that was
Yeah, Orchid burned, man. It burned hard for a very short period of time. That is a very accurate description. And yeah, never got in any trouble there. That's good. But I would definitely be like a candidate for having like tumbled over that like metal catwalk like onto a dance floor full of like people on ecstasy. It just felt like, oh my God, that guy. You can't take him anywhere. So Orchid is just super dangerous. I felt like.
That should have been their tagline. Orchid, super dangerous.
Super dangerous. Yeah.
All right, man. So my number two, I'm going with the personal pick. Um, on North Cunningham Avenue, there's been a rotating bar over the past few years. It's been places like Geo's and Mugshots and all these random places. But I remember back in the early aughts, it was called Mulligans, and just a small little stretch of a bar, but they totally gutted it, redid it. Their like whole big deal was like each booth had their own TV, and it was like super fancy and et cetera. So I went there for that. But it's also like any new bar, once you get the CU stink on it, it gets real dirty real fast. And I remember like learning it was like a Steelers bar. So I'd go there like on Sunday mornings and drink with a bunch of random Steelers fans, because while we should have had a lot of Bears bars in Champaign, we didn't, because our teams were usually trash. So like going into a bar that was dedicated like a team that was winning, like they had like their own routines and their own cheers, towels, taking Jaeger shots, and they would like do basically prop bets before all this stuff that's legal now, DraftKings and all that shit, like, and just slap money on the table and be like, oh, Heinz Ward's gonna score here in this quarter. I'll put 5 on it. And it was just like a bonkers early Sunday experience, man. I'd come out of there at like 3 o'clock just cooked, dude. I always had the greatest experience.
That's the way to do it on a Sunday afternoon with no children.
Exactly.
You can be cooked.
And then I also in their last grasp, like every other bar, they try to run karaoke night. And I remember being in there once with a bunch of our local crew and townies and whatnot. And speaking of who we're gonna have to do a triple or quad episode, we're gonna get Adam and Ryan P on here. We're gonna do 4 corners. But I did a duet of Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash with Adam Fisher at Mulligans, dude. And it was both horrifying and enjoyable. I don't really karaoke, man. So we dropped the octaves and got lit there. So, man, yeah. Mulligans was just like that random place. Is just when you're here so long, I've mentioned like West Side, South Savoy, now North Urbana, you have to like start reaching for the corners, man, because everybody's always packed in the same joints all the time. You always have to strive to find like those uncovered rocks, and like Mulligans was one of those, man. I love the joint.
Excellent call. I don't have as much Mulligans experience as you, but I do remember going there for the first time and like talking to the bartender about like the whole Steelers vibe and all that stuff. It was weirdly named. I never picked up on like a golf tribute anywhere in Mulligans. It was just kind of like, hey, it's Mulligans. But yeah, I thought that was just super friendly. And to your point, you're absolutely right. That's the beauty of this discussion, is that we were very much having to, Champaign people, Urbana people, locals, we find these places and congregate together, and they become like tradition, and we have a lot of great stories. And so Mulligans is definitely just one of those great little hole in the walls. R.I.P. Out to Mulligans.
Hold on. Yeah, what's up, man?
Can I get my sweet treat from the basement?
Go for it. Yeah. I didn't take it so much as like a golfing thing, as more of like you're gonna need a do-over after hanging out here for a while, dude. Like, oh, it's 2 a.m. I'm gonna take a mulligan, man. That was bad. That was bad, buddy.
He used his mulligan already.
So for that, I was respecting him, man. So
I love mulligans. You were going deep. You were using the old noodle there on that one too. I legit totally forgot about mulligans.
Yeah, man.
Let me
number one.
Let me give you my number one. So I thought about this a lot, but I just feel like in the with the high dive and then Cowboy Monkey and that whole like phenomenon that it is still today. I have to and then I'm not gonna throw M&Ms in there just because it's too obvious and there are too many stories to go there, and you can if you want. Mine is gonna be like the original OG's Mabel's. So just walk across Green Street from Orchid, I'm going Mabel's. And it's not like I felt like I went to Mabel's a lot, but some of the best times I had in my like teens, early 20s were some of those like last shows that were there. Like a lot of those with you, other homies, couple that come to mind, Jason Bonham band with just like, Sean Tanner running around like an animal, doing that kind of rock and roll stuff. DJ Shadow. Do you remember that one? You remember that? Like, what? DJ Shadow's like 19 years old and he's just like bouncing across the country in a van and he's like stops in Champaign, Illinois at Mabel's. It's like, that was quite something. And I feel like it was bummed when I heard that it closed. And Zorba's below. Shout out to Zorba's, man. I remember seeing the pictures of that fire. Zorba's was great. But yeah, Mabel's is for sure some of my first like just cool live music experience. Not a lot, but I always thought that was like a really exciting environment to be in. So Mabel's I put at my number one.
Nice. Yeah, man, there was for a long time. I mean, there wasn't many venues. Like this is pre-Canopy, like you said, pre-High Dive. Like you had like basically the original Blind Pig. And that even probably came after Mabel's too. Like there just wasn't many places to go to like see music at all. And now they're, we're not exactly runneth over with them now, but there's a lot more options. So yeah, that was, and we were again, pretty young. Like, the old schoolers watching this probably have stories like, you see the old playbills, like you mentioned Corgan, like Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana, like all these bands actually played there at one point in time. I mean, it's like,
right. We just missed that window.
Right.
Like we were legit like 14, So.
Right. Yeah. All right, man. Now I got a tough call to make, man.
What's he gonna go with?
I'm gonna do some honorable mentions at the end that I only have a couple little footnotes about. But this one's gonna be a weird one because it kind of goes with the whole theme. Us going to bars in late high school, early college. Then, we find our little holes and we do our tours and do all that stuff. And then downtown blew up, and everything became regular there, from Tulane to Guido's to the Transition to everything. And then you notice every couple years, like the crowds would cycle in and out and like, it'd get a little younger as we got older and people got married and phased out, et cetera, et cetera. But there was always that glory days of downtown where it was like early Barfly, like early Tulane, like, and then years down the road, like, Black Dog and like things started blowing up in Urbana. John Cosmopolis opened randomly Red Star Liquors in downtown Urbana. And it was like a time warp back to like the early aughts to Maine. Like all the people that used to hang out there or like used to work there, et cetera, flocked to this small bar. And it was like stepping back a decade for just a short amount of time. And it was so cool. And he, would pop in and DJ and do like, play posses on Broadway by Sir Mix-a-Lot and a bunch of random cuts that you didn't hear anywhere else in town. And it was just cool to kind of like, after a decade of hitting this town so hard, to get, one that isn't mentioned, COs, we almost got like our own time warp in Red Star Lakers, dude. And I always dug that like short window was open.
Great call. Can't argue with that. I don't have, I think I maybe went there once or twice.
It was well after you moved. I think you were up in Wisconsin at that point in time when it was
probably. But no, it's great. I like the spirit of it. No question.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was just like, oh man, there were people that went there where you literally haven't seen in a decade. And it was weird. It was like the pool scene of Poltergeist. Like all these people were just popping up out of nowhere. And it was just like, holy shit, man, where have you been? And it's like, I got married, I had kids. But now all of a sudden we're out here every weekend again, like it was like an unspoken thing, but it was just kind of like understood, like, the head nod, like, oh yeah, we're back at it again. We're not done yet. The place has changed, but we all kind of reformed it. So yeah, I always thought that was really cool. It didn't last very long. I don't really understood. It sounded like a package joint. I don't know why it was called Red Star Liquors. I'm sure John probably has a story about that. Like, but yeah, it was.
It sounds Chicago-y,
Right.
Like, that sounds a little Chicago-y.
Yeah. So it was like after Black Dog opened. So you had like a little bit of like Bunnies, Black Dog, Embassy, Iron Post, and then like Red Star was like the shining beacon where it was like, all right, man, this is like DJ booth, better drinks, a little bit more like live, had a nice little beer garden in the back. So yeah, I always dug Red Star Liquors, man.
Very cool. Let's get into, I don't know how much time we're running, but let's get into some of your honorable mentions. I want to hear those too.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Huber's, the consummate neighborhood bar. I lived just around the block from there and went there all the time. Cheap drinks, always fun characters at the bar, belly up anytime, day or night. We used to do that charity miniature golf thing. It was always fun to hit there. And they had like just that weird whack little hole where you just hit it in a spiral and either you hit it or you didn't. Like it was interesting, man. They had like the old school, like cigar wooden Indians, which is kind of like offensive, but still kind of like rocking. And you just knew you're in, just like that. People would tell stories about buying candy there and stuff. So Huber's was definitely up there. I let it out earlier, but the old Black Dog used to be Todd Johns, which was always fun. Little place, one of the original dart haunts I went to before, I was trying to think what the downtown joint is. Bentley's.
Mike and Molly's and Brass Rail were my dart spots. Back at Pat, with Pat and those are that was all dart love for me.
Yeah, man. So yeah, Todd Johns had some darts, and for like a small segment of my life, I was
traditional darts or like plastic, like cricket darts.
No, regular court.
Regular, old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, hurt with one of those.
Yeah, they had that vibe going on. And for like a real small period of my life, I was affiliated with the Eastern Illinois Parrot Head Club, which is Jimmy Buffett fans, because we planned a fundraiser together for DSC. And that was always their meeting spot. So I went there like, every other week or whatever. And those people were kind of wild business. It was fun time.
Oh boy. That's your first mistake. You put the parrot head, smash them together with speed dating night, and then you've got something extra weird.
That would have been hot. I got to give a shout out to the original White Horse, one of the best beer gardens ever. It goes all the way.
Oh, God, how can I forget? Yes.
All the way up to the roof. Yeah. All the way up to the roof.
The crow's nest.
Yeah. Any time of year, especially when it's warm out, like that place was just bumping, from students to people off work. Like it was like a Scotian to campus. It wasn't really in campus. It was like safe campus. So like people had no problem crossing over, you know. It's like, I'm not too old to go there, you know. It's just it's right next to like the pizza joint, man. Like I could be in there, you know. So it was like there was like an unspoken like coolness about it. And they did like randomly $4.50 rum and coke pitchers on like Wednesday and like empty the place out. It was crazy.
You were definitely there. If you were either like I sit in the pit or like hands down, do not sit in the fucking pit. Like if you want to get like drinks spilled on your head for like an extended period of time, you would like sit down in that little area. Yeah. But there are some types of people who just they wanted to be down there. You know, it's like they wanted to like set up shop, play cards. It was one of these tables. I was definitely an outside guy. And if you were in the front, you were just like in the banished. Like if you're up in the front, you're just like, there's nothing happening up there.
Yeah, man. It's a choose your own adventure book, dude. I loved it. And then probably the least popular one on my list that nobody would probably even know of, inside the old Jumers Hotel, when they tried to reignite it, like in the mid-aughts, they opened a bar called the Alumni Tap. It was one of those places I went to just not be found, dude. And that's
no knowledge of Alumni Tap on this end.
Nobody did, man.
Never even heard of it.
Nobody did. It was an old Ike Mapson joint, dude. Like he settled in there and tried to like revive the hotel, dude. And they like tried to like the whole Alumni Tap, like they had like random 8x10s of like football players from the Illini everywhere, but there was no theme here. There was no crowd there. There was no like anything. It was just kind of like
Cumberland East.
Yeah. It just felt cool to be in that old hotel and like the atmosphere around it, you know, like just walking in that hotel was cool. So yeah, I'd go there from time to time just to get lost. So yeah, that one's just a sentimental choice, but I don't think it would make anybody's list by any means. So
I definitely had some fun. You know, if you get out, you know, way out eastbound, you know, what was that with the mechanical bulls at R&R's or like?
Yeah, I don't even know about that.
What was out there where people played softball?
Oh, TK Wendells.
TK Wendells, thank you.
Yeah, you're right now. Okay.
TK Wendells was a lot of fun. Like that was a great spot. I remember my wife when we had just started dating, because she's a big like horsemanship person. Like she was in this equestrian club, and they would always kind of be out that way at their barn riding horses and doing their thing. And then she was familiar with TK Wendells. She lived with her roommates in Urbana, and we would go out there, ride the mechanical bull, have a great old time. You know, probably a little sketchy, you know, maybe driving back and forth from TK Wendells and the pre-Uber days, but I remember taking a cab out there like once or twice from her place in Urbana. Good times, no doubt.
That's what always scared me off the spot, dude. I was like, I can't afford to drink and cab it there, so I'm just gonna drink closer because I'm scared that there's like a cop on both ends just waiting, you know. So yeah.
Let's be real. I'm surprised I could afford to go to any of these places. So
right.
Thank God for $1 PBRs.
Strokes grippers deluxe style, dude. That was the way to go. More places need to adopt that. All right, man. This has been dope, dude. I'm really glad you came on today, dude.
Thanks for having me. It was a fun topic.
Absolutely, dude. And we can keep going, dude. Even now that you said TK Wendells, now I got like 6 more that popped in. So we'll redux this. I think we're going to have to bring in some more people. We're going to have to really like open up a full on like Townie Mash 5 here coming up soon, dude.
Well, you are the list master. And I've always liked that about like your social media, you know, making lists, and it gets people excited and it gets people starting to want to like weigh in with their own things. I think that hopefully if anybody sees this Bag of Six episode, they're going to be like, hold up, get Pickard out of there and let me get on this, because and I'm cool. I can retire to like the top right portion of the screen. I don't have to be the featured guest. And we can get some more homies to chime in on this, because I'm sure people have got stuff that we didn't think of, and we've just like tip of the iceberg as far as like stories go. So
yeah, man, everybody, that's the beauty of the town, man. Everybody kind of painted their own stripe. So yeah, I'm sure someone could get on here and name 12 other bars. It would be like, oh shit, yeah. But yeah, man, you mentioned earlier George Furla, dude. We've talked about doing a high school lunch spot one of these. So man, we might have to ramp that one up too, dude. Everybody wants to talk about Ritzies. Everybody wants to talk about Ritzies, dude. So yeah, we're gonna have to hit that up, man.
excellent.
All right, bud.
I'll